I was spending so much time in my own room, especially because I was working at home too, and it became so overwhelming, and I just wanted to explode.
It is not easier. It is not. If anything, I think it's a little more challenging because you are kind of like your own learner.
I don't know if you've been through that, Milkman, but when you're online, you start to not care. It doesn't feel real, you know?
And we're back. Yeah, y'all, you know what time it is. It's the Milkman. So check this out. When I first heard that I was taking online courses, I was excited as heck. Until it actually got to the point where I had to do the work. I was so underprepared, I had to drop out of the course. So, in order to help y'all avoid the same fate that I did, I decided to hit up a couple people to provide me with some gems that I could pass on to you guys. And if you know anyone who's going to take an online course, make sure you share this video to them because it may be a lifesaver to someone. You know, I decided to hit up my homeboy Mo, who goes to UofT, Supriya, who goes to NYU, Noor, who goes to UBC, Neva Jade, she goes to McGill, and last but not least, my homegirl Brianna, who goes to Georgia State University. So, hopefully this video is of some importance to you, and if you have any other additional gems that you want to drop for us, leave them in the comment box. Until next time, it's the Milkman. Check it out! So, what is one tip that you've utilized to make sure you've had a successful experience while taking an online class?
Well, one tip that I can give you is try to make your time watching lectures as fast as possible if possible. So one of those things, it's kind of like reading quick, watching lectures quick. So watch a lecture at 1.5 speed or 2 speed, and eventually you might even make your way up to 3 speed. I know that starts to sound demonic, but you know, eventually get fluent in that.
So I would say just make sure you go to the live sessions versus the recorded sessions because a lot of the times the professors are willing to answer your questions during the live sessions, which you don't have access to when you're doing them, when you're listening to the recorded sessions. So make sure you go to the online ones.
Perfect. So the live session is the one right on the spot. I guess you could press a button, put your hand up, and present a question. Whereas with the recorded session, you can't do that. You pretty much have to just watch whatever occurred during the live session.
Right. And a lot of the times when you ask a question via email, it takes them a couple of hours to respond to you. And then by then that thought's gone. So it's just much better to go to the live sessions.
Do not procrastinate and make sure you look at your due dates.
Okay,
due dates are very important.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you've had some sort of experience with overlooking due dates, or not really?
Yeah.
So do you find it's a bit worse than in-person classes?
I believe that is definitely worse than in-person classes, but that's just because I'm an in-class learner. Like I'm like being able to see what I'm learning. I'm not really like a digital learner.
Okay. And so how did you know that you're an in-class learner? Is that something you took a test for, or is that you just realized that you can retain information more when you're in person as opposed to online?
Honestly, I didn't even realize that until we had to switch to online classes. I was like, oh my gosh, like none of this like information is retaining at all. Okay. Like I understood it more when I was in class versus when I'm on a computer.
The big thing I think is accountability. That's something that I really struggled with throughout the entire time I took like any online class. So for me, getting a planner was really crucial because that to me held me accountable to be able to get my assignments in on time. I was able to follow like the schedule really easily. You have to know what you can uphold in terms of making yourself accountable. And for me, that was finding a planner. I know a couple other people would like use Google Calendar and some of those like other sites to help with that, but be organized and get yourself a planner. Okay. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
So I was going to ask, like, does it really matter if it's a digital one or like a physical one?
I don't think so. As long as you know what works best for you and what you're going to keep up with. Like, because you do have to, you know, kind of log as things come in and as things go out, you have to make sure that you're keeping a log of all of that. So as long as you know what you're going to keep consistent with, Just stick to one.
I think one of my major tip would be to separate your downtime from your study time and from your work time. As in, don't do everything in your own room, but find ways to go to the library or go somewhere else, because it's really important to get out of your head sometime and have really like relaxing. Because I realized when I was studying back in like April that I was spending so much time in my own room, especially because I was working at home too, and it became so overwhelming and I just wanted to explode, and that didn't help me in the end. So I would say to really.
Okay, so you're saying separate yourself from the environment that you're usually in the majority of the time.
Yes, it's really important to create like a study time that's not in your room, or like like go to your classes at the library instead.
Okay, and do you find that that also helps with focus? Because I don't know about you, but like in my space, I have a lot of distractions. So
Yeah, for sure. I think like everyone's so used to having classes with a teacher, and you know that when you go to class, you're not going to do anything else, right? But when you're in your room, it's also where you sleep. It's also where you hang out and like chill, you know? So then if you're supposed to do that like school, it's almost impossible.
So like, let's say for example, the library is closed due to, you know, what we're going through right now. Do you have any other suggestions in terms of places people could go to study and just to take themselves away from their usual space?
Even if it's just studying in your backyard, if it's just like going outside, take a walk and like listen to like, I like to study with listening to my own teacher's recording, right? And I do that where I was just walking around while listening. Nice. And it's just honestly to get out there and just not live in that room of yours.
Okay, so do you find that there's kind of like an idea that because it's an online course, that it's probably easier than actually going until you get hit with like the course load and then the actual work?
It is not easier. It is not. If anything, I think it's a little more challenging because you are kind of like your own learner. Like you have to sit down, learn the material yourself. You don't have that same ability to like raise your hand in class and say like, hey, I don't get this. So you definitely have a lot more sitting on your shoulders, I think.
One of the most important things that I've done online is actually utilizing good study groups. You know, get a good Zoom meeting with a couple friends that you trust, like friends that you can shoot out and be like, yo, I know I sound stupid, but here's my idea, here's my thought. And then utilizing like a whiteboard, Zoom, like whatever. I found that made the studies a lot more manageable, a lot more fun. And I actually kind of care about it again. Yeah, because, you know, when you're online, I don't know if you've been through that, Milkman, but when you're online, you start to not care. It doesn't feel real, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's not just online when it comes to university. Even at some points going to actual lecture, 100%. I just didn't care. But, you know, it's not about me right now. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying. And I guess it also ties in with, like, the distractions, too.
Yes.
This allows you to interact with other people, so you can focus more on the content, but you're not really specifically focusing on the content, but you are, because you have other people, you know, joining in and whatnot.
Exactly. If there's anything that made me through my last like months of the program, and it was just meeting with my friends, it became social and it became fun, and then it actually felt like real learning. So like it was cool. I highly recommend everybody if you can.
Okay, yeah. So just to touch on that now, because if we're starting with online classes at schools, what's the best way for someone to build a social group for a circumstance such as this? Because if you can't go to campus, and maybe you don't have friends that are going to university with you, is there a way that you could kind of develop a social group for these classes? Like, does the online class have like a list of people in the class that maybe you could direct message and say, hey, do you want to study together, or do you want to put together a Zoom meeting or whatnot?
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure with certain classes. However, what I can say is if you're fortunate to be in the program before, that would be a great place to start, you know, just talking to people that you knew were in the class. Another is if you were connected on Facebook, oftentimes you can see who you're with through Facebook, or you have a friend or two or whatever. That can start building a little bit of traction. And I bet there's going to be a lot of resources, not that I know of right now, that the university will be providing for like online connections. And, you know, if there's online like discussion boards, like where you have to respond in class, that could be easily a way to do it too. But it is tough to start rolling, and you may feel awkward to be like, yo man, let's study together, but sometimes you just gotta make it to that little hurdle at first, and then you build some good friendships along the way.